What's up, everybody? I am making a long form video today. Yes, it's 2:30. I am knackered. I did not sleep very well last night, but I'm here and I'm doing it because this is important. Okay, we need to talk about the government guidelines for physical activity for maintaining health. I know, really, really sounds so interesting, right? Sounds so sexy, but it is. It is because in my experience, the majority of people are extremely confused about what kind of exercise they should be doing and how much of it. And that's not their fault, that's because there's so much garbage out there. But also, the majority of people are not meeting these guidelines. So, if you are also confused about how much exercise you should be doing and what type, then this is a good place to start. So, why should we follow these guidelines? Okay, look, I don't want to get too technical here. In short, we need to do cardio to greatly reduce our risk of developing cardiovascular disease and associated conditions. We need to do strength training to greatly reduce our risk of developing osteoporosis and sarcopenia. So here are the guidelines that you need to be following to maintain health. This is a minimum, okay? This is a minimum. These guidelines might vary, by the way, if you have some kind of long-term health condition. These are just general guidelines. You want to be doing 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic exercise per week, or it can be a mixture of the two. You want to be resistance training at least 2 days a week, working all major muscle groups, and you can do this through bodyweight exercises, resistance bands, free weights, machines. All of this counts. In terms of flexibility and mobility, there are no health guidelines on this at the moment, and I think I've never actually seen a rationale for this written down, but I think it's just because flexibility and mobility, although it's really, really important and you should do it ideally on a daily basis, it doesn't directly contribute to lowering our risk of developing cardiovascular disease or osteoporosis. So I think that's why it's not specifically a health guideline, but that doesn't mean that it's not incredibly good for us. And ideally, you want to be doing some form of flexibility or mobility every day to maintain good joint health, good muscle flexibility. It helps with improving performance, it helps with recovery, and it helps with relaxation as well. So no guidelines for that, but I would still do it. So the resistance training guidelines are pretty straightforward, at least 2 times a week, all major muscle groups. But the cardio guidelines are a little bit more intricate. So when it talks about moderate or vigorous intensity exercise, moderate intensity aerobic exercise would be something like a brisk walk, something where your heart rate and your breathing rate are elevated above resting levels. So you're breathing a little bit heavier than normal, your heart is beating a little bit faster than normal, you feel warm, and you're sustaining this for a period of time. However, you're not so out of breath that you can't hold a conversation. So a brisk walk is a fantastic example of a moderate activity. You can also think of moderate intensity activity as being 50 to 65% of your max heart rate. So to calculate your max heart rate, you're simply going to do a sum of 220 minus your age, that's your maximum heart rate, and then you calculate between 50 to 65, and that range is where your heart rate should be for moderate intensity exercise. Vigorous intensity exercise, on the other hand, is something like a HIIT class or sprinting, something where your level of exertion is noticeably above resting level. So you're breathing really heavy, your heart's going fast, you feel hot, and you probably are going to struggle to hold a conversation or say more than a few words when you are working at this level of intensity. In terms of your heart rate, it will be anything from 65% and up. That will be vigorous intensity exercise. These guidelines are from my various personal trainer qualifications, by the way, in case anyone wants to question me. Now, if you are working below moderate intensity, where your breathing and your heart rate are pretty much the same as always, let's say this could be a casual walk to the shops or doing some housework or something like that, Um, this, I would say, counts as minimizing sedentary time, just breaking up the day by not sitting down for too long, by getting up and moving around. And this would count as light intensity activity. Um, However, if you are specifically trying to improve your cardiovascular fitness and health, you do need to be walking briskly for it to count as moderate intensity cardio. So now that you know the guidelines, I will put them on the screen here again. You can have a look at how much you are currently doing over the week. And if you meet the guidelines, then that's great. And if you don't, then you can see where you need to fill in the gaps. And then you can start planning for some more workouts or some more activity so that you can start to meet those guidelines. And I just wanted to make this video because I think this is so important, because we have sort of lost track, I think, in fitness sometimes of what is important. And there's, like I said, all of these ridiculous claims being made about this is the best workout and this is the optimal workout if you're a woman, and you shouldn't do this and you should do that, and you only need to do this or you only need to do that, you know, like these claims that you don't need to do any cardio or you don't need to lift weights, like, you know, they pop up from time to time and it's always something different, and then people jump on the bandwagon and then something else replaces it. And I just think we need to think about what's actually important in fitness. Is the most important is our health, is our well-being, is ensuring that we are strong and fit and disease-free and injury-free right now, and that as we get older we can maintain that independence, we can maintain our cardio fitness, so we can, you know, run up the road if we need to. If we're grandparents, we can play with our grandkids without getting out of breath. You know, we have strong enough muscles that we can get up out of a chair unassisted, or that if we fall over, we're not going to break a bone because we have strong bone density. You know, these are all of the most important reasons to exercise regularly. And so when you're thinking about what type of exercise should I do and how often, I just want you to look at if you're meeting these health guidelines and build on those and be consistent with those, because these are the things that are going to benefit our entire life.